To another episode of This Week with Sabir. In today's hot seat, I have a phenomenal guest, Stu Heinecke. He's the author of a new book releasing May 2022, so it's a couple of months from now, on business growth strategy as inspired by weeds. Years ago, as he drove the Santa Monica freeway in Los Angeles, Heinecke noticed a dandelion growing from a crack in the concrete median. That set in motion a 30-year fascination and study of how weeds grow, expand, dominate, and defend their turf, and how any of that might translate to useful growth strategy for entrepreneurs. The result is Heinecke's upcoming book, How to Grow Your Business Like a Weed. But more importantly, I mean, he has a phenomenal resume and background in this. Today's topic that we will be tackling would be, actually, let me flash this on the screen so more people can see it. It's called How to Get a Meeting with Anyone. And this is more about, and by the way, Stu, welcome to the show. And thank you for sending me my own personal copy of the book. By the way, Stu, thank you for that. This book goes up right next to Stephen Covey's books that I have, and I keep repeat reading it. Wow. So this is going to be phenomenal for me. Wow. Stu, so just kind of set you up a little bit. My background for 25 years has been all the growth and success I've had across many brands, phenomenal brands, not small brands, gigantic brands, startup brands, Shark Tank brands. I'm involved with that show also. So it's all of those things. And when you think about e-commerce, when I started reading your book, and I'll tell you, I'll give you a frank, honest opinion of the beginning of my reading, right? Well, like, oh, this guy hates technology. He's going to tell me to pick up the phone and do it old school and stuff. You know, it's contact marketing and, you know, but I was pleasantly surprised. Like, you know, after a couple of chapters, it's the whole, it's every aspect of contact marketing, it's not anti-social or anti-tech kind of a book. It's more holistic and whatever works. So we will definitely dive into that. But number one, and this is, and I think your family would appreciate this. How did you meet your wife?
Well, it was probably the best meeting I've ever had, for one. You know, sometimes I have a hard time shortening this story because it's a long story. But growing up, I was enamored with the beautiful blonde Scandinavian women that I imagine were in Scandinavia, but I'd never been there. And I thought, you know, I thought, you know, I want to meet someone like that's who I want to marry. I want to meet someone like that. And so it was kind of a high school fantasy. And then, you know, about a dozen years later, there I was in Beverly Hills with my little business going. And I think, you know, what's next? I'm going to make a film out of that. I want to make a film. So I hired the screenwriter who wrote the original Pink Panther screenplay, and we did a story treatment together. But the next step was I was due to go out to, I'd never even been to Europe. So I needed to go there with my video camera and get footage of the place and the people and maybe interview some actresses or models or something. But I don't know what I was doing because I don't make films, but that's what I needed to do. That's what I wanted to do. Well, so I was booked to go out to Stockholm, and about a month before I was set to leave, I saw this picture in a magazine, and I just said, "Oh my God!" You know, I was going on that fantasy for real. This is the girl I would bring home, and I'm going to shorten the story really a lot. I'm just going to say, well, she ended up being my wife. I met her through the magazine, and then her photographer, and I flew to Copenhagen instead, and we met, and oh my God, we just had the most amazing day together. But it all, you know what, really, it's a lot like the rest of what we're going to talk about. You have to be audacious if you're going to meet people that can change everything about, let's say, the scale of your life. Because my wife did change the scale of my life, but I mean, in business and in our careers, in our sales careers, we're looking to connect with the accounts that can change the scale of our careers. And if we own businesses, the same thing. We're looking for the kinds of accounts, the kinds of allies and investors and so forth who can change the scale of everything. And you can't do that if you're being mousy. Does that make sense?
Completely. Yeah. I mean, big audacious goals right? And then and have a mindset of executing with tactically, like exactly what you want to do. Do step one, then step two, then step three, and everything is going to start falling into place.
Yeah.
And learn from it. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not going to be perfect.
There's also obviously an element of serendipity in all this because we're reaching out to someone else. We don't know what their reaction is going to be, but we're reaching out to someone else, and we hope that we're going to have the kind of reaction or response that we want. But everyone's different, so you also have to just sort of ride with the flow. I mean, when I went out, I'll just mention this one more time, that when I went out and met Charlotte in Copenhagen, I didn't know what was going to happen. It was kind of a silly thing to do, actually, but I couldn't resist. I had to do it, and obviously it worked out well. But you just got to ride with it. So be audacious, take a lot of chances, be creative. Or that's kind of a hard thing that's like be funny or something. I mean, you either are or you're not. But be courageous, and just unleash your creativity, because you can. God, there's so many ways to do this, and you can reach out and you can reach anyone. It's pretty amazing. It's kind of like a superpower.
Well, when actually, Stu, when Alexandra Watkins, who was she did an episode with us on branding and naming companies and products and stuff, and I asked for her recommendation, and she recommended you. Your first response to me was a cartoon, and then that's how I learned that you were a Wall Street Journal cartoonist. How does that play into you? Because you were talking about creativity. How does that play into your life?
Well, cartoons have been a big part of my career, and I want to, before I explain that, I also want to say you don't have to be a cartoonist to do this, but I happen to be a cartoonist, and it was. Here's the thing: we take stock in what we do. A good friend of mine, Kenny Madden, says that you do whatever it is that you can't not do. We all have something like that, something we can't stand not doing. We have to do it. We're just driven to do it. And so in my case, it's cartooning, and I have this crazy background with using cartoons in marketing, and they're amazing devices for marketing because they in readership surveys done by magazines and newspapers, they've been long shown to be the best read and remembered part of the publication. So people love them, they read them. And if you think about the nature of humor, humor is always about truth being revealed in a twist. It's why when we laugh at something, we're saying, oh my, we're always like, before we can catch our breath, we're saying, oh my God, that's so true, because it reveals the truth. And so cartoons are this incredible device for not only grabbing someone's attention, but if you've done the cartoon well, and it's not easy to do them well, but if you've done the cartoon well, and they're going, oh, that's hilarious, you've already planted a point of agreement in their heads, and you can step off in the copy or in whatever it is that you want to say, related to that theme. It'll define a theme. And so the one that I sent you was about being on a podcast, about you being on a podcast.
Yeah.
And one of the women was telling the other in the cartoon, I once heard Sabir on a podcast, and it changed my life. You know what he said? He said, smile, and which could change someone's life. The thing is, I related it to podcast because you and I are doing this. I knew we were going to be doing this. And so it related to you, it does relate to me because I'm the cartoonist. That's sort of an unfair advantage. But otherwise, it was all about you, right? I mean, I wasn't writing it about me. Yeah. And so this device has been just incredible, not only for, let's say, direct response campaigns, but also for these contact campaigns. And here I am. I'm describing this, and I don't know if the people in the audience are actually picturing it in their heads. So, here's the thing. I've sent cartoons to people. I mean, I've reached presidents and prime ministers, and celebrities, and lots of C-level folks using cartoons. And the thing that I'm always shooting for, whether it's with a cartoon or some other form of contact marketing, is I want the person on the receiving end of this to say, who is this guy, Stu? Who is this man? I love the way you think. So we have we have a video that I would love to share. And I want to just set this up for a moment. When I send cartoons out to people, I'm never there to see what the reaction is. I know afterward what the reaction is, they'll tell me, but I'm never there to see it happen. And I sent one of my contact devices, a cartoon piece, to Billy Jean. He's a big marketing influencer on Instagram. And I wanted to reach out to him because I wanted to connect with him and see if there's something we could do to collaborate. So I sent it out, and his assistant got it. And we'll come back to assistants, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
But his assistant saw it, and she liked it so much. She said, "You know what? I'm going to film the unboxing of this for Bill." So that's what this video is, and watch what her reaction is.
Yeah, let me play this, Stu. Hang on.
I usually wait till you get here, Bill, to show your packages, but this one's pretty cool, and I'm too anxious to wait and show you. So here's the reveal. If I can get the cap off. Read how awesome this is. The Tale of the Hired Gun. I ever tell you fellas the story of the Billy Kid? Yep, sure did. How about Wild Bill Jean? You mean the marketing whiz from San Diego? At least 100 times before. Yep, you can say that again. Look at the back. I'm kind of in love with this guy. Mad respect.
All right, so
Phenomenal. She actually, what is it, snorted while laughing?
that was his assistant.
Yeah.
Think about this. Every time when we reach out to people, if we're reaching out to someone in the C-suite, we're talking to executive assistants, and everybody calls them gatekeepers, and they do that, but that's not all they do. And so you've got to impress them as well, and you've got to get past their I don't know, their judgment of whether you should be talking to their boss. Here was his assistant opening that thing up and saying, I'm falling in love with this guy. That's the effect we want. And you don't have to do with cartoons necessarily. Cartoons are a great device for it, but they're not at all the only thing that you can use. And so, you can use there are all kinds of devices. And I don't mean to say that it's just physical devices. But to your point, technology can be used. There are all kinds of ways to do this. The only thing I would say is we don't want to use crowded channels so much, I think. We want to rely on crowded channels. I think a lot of the email, a lot of the uses of email to get through to accounts or to prospects is kind of misguided because I don't think it works all that well. It's a very crowded channel. So use other channels and ultimately just use what works. That's all. Just use what works.
Actually, it's the perfect time to talk about what contact marketing is not. So I'm going to set it up for you, and then you could actually clarify it, right? So typically, in whether it's e-commerce or even content marketing, right? The whole mantra is build up your mailing list, email list, right? You collect it from your website, social media, and so on, and also social media have followers and build up your followers and stuff. And then you take your message and you blast it to everybody, right? Some platforms like Klaviyo and MailChimp allows you to do personalization, which I think it's very early stages. I don't think it's like the personalization at the level I would like it. It's just your name, maybe the products you bought. If it's a little bit intelligence, and some people call it AI, they will insert, if you like this product, you're going to like these products, something like that, that kind of stuff. That's what personalization, it's called personalization marketing. It's called e-commerce marketing, content marketing, social media engagement. Those are the terms and phrases that are used. But contact marketing, and after reading the book, it makes a ton of sense. It's almost, to me, and I'm going to give this to you so that you can explain it better. To me, for 25 years, it was like have a megaphone and scream out your message, right? And even if you do audience segmentation on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that, that's what every YouTube channel and every YouTube video and guru says, right? You could select your audiences on Facebook, and on Google, you could select your keywords that you want to go after. So that's what people are used to for 25 years of e-commerce, right? and that's all the messaging they're getting when you go on and search for any of the phrases I just mentioned on YouTube. This is the type of videos that you would find. And also the gurus, marketing gurus, and everybody else, they will say the exact same thing. But after reading your book, even though, I mean, it's kind of a misnomer. The title says How to Get a Meeting with Anyone. But I think it's a phenomenal primer to contact marketing, which is that's a study on its own. You're just showing one application of it. So I'm going to hand it off to you. And first, let's explain to the audience what contact marketing is not.
Yeah. Well, I think the big thing that it's not is it's not mass marketing. We're focused on, I think there are all kinds of ways to do mass marketing and to match audiences and and before e-commerce, the world that I came up in was direct response. So it's a lot of sending stuff out, and if you got a 1% response, in a lot of cases that was a great victory, but that meant that 99% didn't respond, and that's not so good. So it is not mass marketing. It's micro focused on the people that we know have the opportunity or the ability to change our scale. I think that's always the focus. So who are, let's say, the top 100 people that you could reach out to who, if they became your clients or mentors or strategic partners, would change everything about your scale? Because I guess we could think of these as sniper shots as opposed to scattergun shooting. And so we want to pick off just the ones who will change our lives. And to do that, we've got to spend some money. We'll spend a lot more per effort on these efforts because we're only going to put out 100, let's say, at that. It might be just one. So, and in my books, I'm saying I want you to develop your top 100 list, but it doesn't have to be 100. It can be far less than that. So it's not mass marketing. It's very, very micro focused marketing. But here's the thing. By doing that and by getting very, very detailed in perhaps the research that you've done to reach out to these people and the preparation of what you've put together, and certainly the production value of what you've put together, all of these things together means you're going to spend a lot per person or per target. But because you're going out to relatively few, it's a very affordable form of marketing. It's probably the most affordable form of marketing I can imagine because it really doesn't cost much to do that, or it doesn't have to. But then we need to talk about response rates because I just mentioned 1% in direct mail or direct response, and in e-commerce and in digital marketing, we look at click-through rates and various metrics that can be hundreds of a percent, thousands of a percent.
Most e-commerce sites, to your point, Stu, convert at less than 1%. Most of them, few of them, very few, would convert between 1% and 3%. And 3% is kind of the magical number for e-commerce sites to get to after they optimize everything. Unless they're in a super niche kind of a market. But most e-commerce sites, 3% is like the holy grail.
Yeah. Now I'm about to commit marketing heresy, but I've been doing it for a while now in the books. But these campaigns have actually gone beyond 100%.
Wow.
Some of these contact campaigns. So, and in fact, in my second book, in this one, it's mirror behind, but Get the Meeting.
Actually, we are very fancy here on this show. Here.
Oh yeah, we can show it.
Is this the book?
Yeah, that's the one.
This is complementary to the other book, right? To the first one I showed?
Yeah, this one came after the first one, came after How to Get a Meeting with Anyone, because I was hearing from people saying, I wish I could see what the campaigns look like, and so, because I didn't have any photographs of campaigns and How to Get a Meeting with Anyone. And so I thought, okay, yeah. So I put together a series of case studies with photography wherever it was possible. And so you get to walk through these campaigns and see what they look like. And they look pretty cool. I mean, they're pretty amazing campaigns. But I want to come back though to what contact marketing is and what it isn't, because I was going to tell you about metrics, because metrics are crazy in contact marketing. And I mentioned also that we've seen response rates go above 100%, which means that you sent this campaign out and people thought so much of it, they were so excited about it that they shared it with other people, and some of those people responded as well. That's like, when does that ever happen in it doesn't happen in a direct mail campaign, and probably doesn't happen in any other form of campaign. And I'm sure that marketers in the audience are going, "Oh my God, come on!" Like we were always told that 100% response rates were impossible in direct response, and they probably are there. But it is not terribly unusual to hear of a campaign that has pulled 100% response. I don't want to set expectations that it pulls 100% response rate all the time, because it doesn't. But if it goes from, let's say, if you're not getting through to anyone, and now all of a sudden you're getting through to 10%, you're getting meetings, that's a big improvement. And if it goes all the way up to 100, as it has in many cases, well, then that's just amazing. It defies logic for marketing. But in this form of marketing, it works. And I'll also tell you that the record, insofar as I'm aware, the record for ROI on a contact marketing campaign is 69,500,000% ROI.
Wow.
In other words, a $28 Facebook ad that produced a $20 million result. That's pretty amazing.
By the way, this is a good banter between the two of us, right? Because the metric related to, for most cases, I'm talking about most Facebook marketing and revenue generation, most ad agencies, if they're doing a great job, they do 1-for-1. If you spend $1 on ads, you're going to get $1 in revenue. That's basically it, right? In case of Google, you can get a multiple of it. So maybe $1 spent, you get $2.50 from that. But in most cases, that's the metric. To spend $1 to get, I don't know, $25, like the way you're describing it, it is nearly impossible in this world.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you that campaign came from a startup. They were trying to get a hold of the right buyer at Walmart, and so they used that $28 ad to really prompt them. I mean, it was
very targeted.
Yeah, it was also very targeted. Yes, it only went to Bentonville, Arkansas, the zip code of Bentonville, Arkansas, where their headquarters is, and they specified education and age groups. All they were trying to do is at least reach executives there. But what they wanted to do is reach the dental products buyer at Walmart, and they did. And that dental products buyer gave them a $1.5 million
wow, incredible
deal for first phone call, and then they so the rest of it is that I interviewed the CEO, the former CEO. I said, well, look, okay, so you just spent a year as a startup and you generated $1 million in sales online. That was your source. And now all of a sudden you've broken into not only did you get an order that was 150% of what you'd done the previous year, but you're suddenly rolled out in the Walmart network of 6,800 stores worldwide. So what did that do to your valuation? So that was the rest of the $20 million result.
Wow.
Because he said that order 10x'd their value. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. You want to reach the people who can change the scale of everything. And they did. And that's what happened.
So one key thing I take away from that, and also I kind of highlighted this. I don't highlight books, but I highlighted it in my mind. The one thing you said in the book that was phenomenal, and that's my takeaway. And you just reiterated it here, but I just want to make it very blunt for the audience so that they understand it. When you have tools like MailChimp and Klaviyo, it's great. They are great tools, right? Amazing tools. Shopify allows you to build up a store quickly. With Klaviyo and MailChimp, you can email people quickly. But I think when you do things quickly, right, you're not putting your energy and you're not really thinking very strategically and purposefully and putting in a lot of energy into, let's say, not spending money, It's very easy, and I say this to my son also. You can take a wads of cash, throw it at anything, and you can make anything happen, right? Everything has a price, basically. You could buy it. You could buy a Mercedes. Everything has a price, right? And if you're one of those marketers that if you're not thinking strategically about, I want to reach those key 500 people, right? In most cases, most businesses could actually succeed with having 100 customers, shop with them on a monthly basis, and be part of their subscribe and save. And it would be a very profitable business because you acquire them the first time, they're going to keep on buying from you, right? But if they don't think strategically and they think, oh, I'm going to load it up into MailChimp, boom, I'm going to send the email out. So what you're doing, you're emailing 17 times a week, your mailing list, people are considering you're a spammer because you're really not thinking through key people, the 1,000 people or 100 people that you should be really putting a lot of energy into, to think about how I want to reach out to them, really think about how you want to approach them, right? Really thoughtfully, right? A lot of marketers nowadays, they don't do that. They go like, spray and pray. Like one of my friends from the South says, she says that spray and pray. I'm from New York, so that was a novelty for me when I heard that. But it makes a lot of sense. A lot of marketers do that. It's a spray and pray mentality. But what you're offering, right, is focus on that one person. Like the list is 100 VIPs that you're going to go after. Don't even reach out to all of them. One at a time. At a time. Be very thoughtful. And that's where you're going to get your response rate at ridiculous levels, above 3% that you would do with any kind of digital marketing or social marketing.
Yeah, I would say thoughtful and audacious. Do those two things, and you're going to see completely different results. By the way, I just want to make sure that we're pretty clear that I'm really talking about, I think most of what contact marketing, where it applies best is in business to business selling, as opposed to B2C, because B2C, you just have to reach a lot of people, and that's just not what this is. So we're really talking about B2B sales, and if you get the right customers, the right strategic partners, et cetera, then everything changes. That's what it's all about.
Makes sense. Actually, so let me set this up for you now. I tried that. I'm running a dental laboratory parts business, right? You mentioned that as for your Arkansas example with Walmart, right? Mm-hmm. I'm running it. I created the list. I'm doing it. It's not working. Now there's something, an analogy or a real story that you told in the book, and I would like you to share it about sailing in fog.
Oh, I was thinking, which one did I? Well, yeah. Well,
By the way, I read your book cover to cover, every single page.
Yeah, and I wrote it about 6 years ago, which means you're much more familiar with it than I am.
It's fresh.
Well, as a kid, we used to sail. We used to have a boat in Westport, Massachusetts. Beautiful place, gorgeous, and it was sort of this gateway to all these islands. That's why I live on an island now, actually. But it's this gateway to all these islands. So there's Martha's Vineyard in Nantucket. But before you reach those, there was this whole string of mostly uninhabited islands called the Elizabeth Islands, and so it was just a beautiful place. And we would go down there a lot to go sail. Like every weekend, we would come down to sail. Well, we went down one weekend, and it was all fogged in. The harbor, it was actually a river, so the river was all fogged in. And we belonged to a yacht club. My parents belonged to a yacht club, so we went in, and you're getting ready, and you got to get all the stuff together and bring it out. The boat's on a mooring, not on a slip, so we got to get everything together, and then we're going to bring it out in the dinghy, or you can bring the boat in. And so during all that prep, all these members were coming up to my dad. They're saying, "You're not going to go out in there, are you? I mean, you're not going to go out in that." He said, "Yeah, of course we are." So, like, really? And there's something more would come. You're not going to go out in that? No, yeah, but of course we're going to go out there. So we went out, and as soon as this is pretty amazing, because as soon as we're heading out, and it's foggy. As soon as we cleared the breakwater, it was no fog. Well, I mean, all the fog was back behind us now. The fog was over all those people only. That's where they were stuck they were sort of mentally stuck in the fog. But as soon as we got past the breakwater, it was just beautiful, sunny skies. It was a gorgeous day for sailing. And I would say that we had it all to ourselves. I don't know that we did, but it seemed we had more of it to ourselves, I suppose. And it's not like it's so crowded, but that you can't sail. So we just had this beautiful day. Now, we wouldn't have had it if we had said, man, it's foggy.
Hunker down.
We can't. So when we came back in, the fog still hadn't lifted, or was just starting to lift. We'd sailed all day. We came back in, and there they were. They'd come out as far as, there's a beach along the river, and they right near the breakwater. They should have realized that, well, if you go 200 feet further, you'd be out of the fog, but they didn't see it. And so what a great object lesson in life, that don't take no for an answer, and don't, there's so many offshoots from this, but certainly don't, when everyone else says something's impossible, that should be your invitation to do it, right? I mean, doesn't that make sense? Like, you should never see a model in a magazine and then go meet her and marry her. Like, who's going to do that? That doesn't work. Right? But of course it
doesn't work for everyone, but it works for one person. For you.
I don't know, because who else is doing it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe everyone else is stuck in the fog.
Yeah, I mean, two things I want to say to that. One, I think the concept of like hunkering down because the world is collapsing. In your case, it was a fog, right? There's a book called 3 Feet from Gold. I don't know if you've read it. It's based on principles of Napoleon Hill, a phenomenal business writer, about millionaires and stuff like that. So I highly recommend reading that book, 3 Feet from Gold.
3 Feet from Gold sounds great. I've never heard of it.
It's like literally how many people stop. They're digging for gold, but they stop at the 3 feet mark because they think that there's no gold here anymore, or there is nothing there. Everybody lied or whatever. So that's one. The second lesson I've learned in life is what Warren Buffett says. Warren Buffett says, he talks about the markets, but I've taken it as a life lesson. He says that when people are running away from the market, meaning that 2008 crash, everybody is running away and taking away and hunkering down, that's the time for you to buy, because the market is on a discount, because everybody else left. All the stocks are at 40% off. You would make a big deal out of a Black Friday sale, right? And go and give your money to retailers, right? During Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and so on. But when the market is on 40% off, 30% off, you think that the world is melting. It doesn't make sense to me. And the opposite is true also, what he says. He goes like, when everybody is running towards it, for example, mass marketing, right? Everybody is spamming everybody through using email marketing and stuff like that, or social media. They're spamming people and DMing them for no reason, right? Then run away from that. Do something different, because you're not going to succeed.
There's a reason why they say buy low, sell high. It sounds so simple.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's exactly what you just described. Buying low means buying at a time when no one thinks you should do it, like you're going to throw your money away. But obviously that's the best time to buy. And then sell high. People will say, are you crazy? Look at what the market's doing. It's just going crazy. It's going up and up and up. Well, It doesn't do that for long. Well, it doesn't do it forever. So buy low and sell high seems so simple, but it's not simple in practice.
All right, so let's say I created my list. I have my 100 VIPs, and I built up my courage also, because a bunch of us are introverts versus extroverts. But we pick up the phone or email or whatever we do, we contact, right? The first gatekeeper, the person that actually picks up that call or picks up that email, let's say it's not an automated system, it's a human being. Lisa picks up and goes like, how can I help you? Thank you for calling ABC Company. What do I do?
Well, if it's the receptionists are very different from executive assistants. So if you're talking to a receptionist, I think you want to be just really as matter of fact as possible. Just give the person, I'm calling for so-and-so. And if they ask who you are, tell them who you are. And if they finally ask, why do you want to call? Why are you calling? Then you'll have to explain a little bit more. But basically, it depends on why you're calling. But you'll give as brief an answer as possible, because you really want to get that person only has the, you don't want to be speaking with and trying to convince someone who only has the power to say no, essentially. So you want to get past the receptionist very quickly, I think. But the executive assistant is a totally different person. Think about it. If you're reaching out to the CEO of a company and you're talking to their executive assistant, you're talking to one of the sharpest people in the company.
Totally agree.
They really are.
Yep.
And we've all been through this. They're really amazing people, and they're very I don't know. They wouldn't say that, they wouldn't agree that they have a lot of power, but they do. They've got so much power because they report directly to the CEO. What do the rest of the C-suite do? They report directly to the CEO. Who else reports directly to the CEO? No one. They're part of the C-suite, actually. So in the book, I call them either VPs of access or talent scouts. Because the thing is, if you just look at them as gatekeepers, then you're really not only have you oversimplified, but you've missed what their actual function is, which is they're working with their executive, and they need to bring things to their executive that they might otherwise miss as well. So some people that are just calling in, and they know that they're just going to take their executive's time up, they won't let them through. But there are others who you say a few words and they'll say, "Oh my God, you know what? My boss needs to hear this." Okay. So can you send some information or tell me a little bit more, but can you send me an email so that I'll bring it to my boss, but we may give you a referral to someone else. That's okay. If you're talking to the CEO's office and the CEO says to anybody in the organization, "I want you to talk to this person," that's great. You're on your way. That's fantastic. So I think the key with them is to have a VIP statement. So 12 words or less, something you're going to say that has not only them, but also their executive saying, "Well, that's amazing. How would you do that?" Or, some other form of, "What, really?" And mine is, I usually send, back to cartoons, but that's what I do. So I often send cartoons to people in the form of a big board. You saw one in the video. Actually, I have one of these here right next to me. So I send these guys. So that's 18 by 24 inches. They're pretty big.
Wow.
They're quite big. And so before I send it, though, I want to talk to the executive assistant because it's really important, actually. It's part of the process that I have with these things. So I call up, or if someone else, for my clients, and I use those big boards a lot for clients too. So, but the preamble here is, or the VIP statement is, "Hi, my name is so-and-so." Let's say I'm doing it. "Hi, my name is Stu Heinecke. I'm one of the Wall Street Journal cartoonists, and I'm calling." This is going over a dozen words. Sorry, but anyway, "I'm calling because I'm sending a print of one of my cartoons, and it's about your boss." And I'll wait because they usually will say, "What? Really? That's amazing."
Is my boss that important?
Yeah. How did that happen?
Yeah. And credibility. You said Wall Street cartoonist, so that builds credibility to start with. And then a Wall Street cartoonist is interested in my boss. That's a big deal.
I'm speaking to one of the cartoonists. You never speak to cartoonists. Yeah. So okay, that's pretty interesting. Yeah. And so so the conversation. So let's say if it's one of my clients and they're one of the sales team members and they're using big boards as their contact device, then they'll call ahead, or maybe an SDR will, but something along those lines. They'll call ahead and they'll say, "Hi, my name is so and so, and I'm calling because I'm sending a print of a cartoon by one of the Wall Street Journal or New Yorker cartoonists, and it's about your boss." So they get the same reaction. "What, really?" Yeah. So if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to. I want it to be a surprise to your boss, but I don't want it to be a surprise to you. So would you mind if I send you an email, and I'll just send you all these details again, just what I just explained, and I will, anyway, I'll send you an email. Yeah, usually it's yes, please, because that's helpful. So they'll spell their name for you. They'll give you their email address, and then you send them an email. "Hey, thank you so much for your help on the phone, and And that was great help. And this is what I'm doing, and here's my contact information, et cetera. And then when these things are being produced as this happens. So when you have the FedEx tracking number, you get back in touch with them again. I usually tell my clients, send a card to the assistants. We've got ways of doing that, but send them a card, maybe something like this guy. So here's that same cartoon now as a 5x7 card and a little note on the back. Send that to them and thank them for helping. And that will end up on their bulletin board, or if they're in a cubicle, wherever they are, it'll end up on the wall or somewhere. And so by the time the big board arrives, you've had 4 touch points with the executive assistant. And by then they are quarterbacking the campaign for you. So executive assistants, I'm just going to say this, they really should be part of your campaign. They are not, don't call them gatekeepers anymore, because although they do keep the gate, they let a lot of people in. So be one of those people that they let in, and enlist them in your campaign, because they're just amazing.
I mean, in your example, the strategy you use is the cartoon, but then I read about Donny Deutsch. That was not one cartoon.
Yeah.
you want to share that story?
Yeah, Donny Deutsch. We probably have to set him up. So he's one of the. I'm not the founder. I guess he's the son of the founder of Deutsch. And I don't remember now
he had a show on CNBC also a while ago.
Yeah, he did. That's right.
And I was a huge fan of it. I loved that show.
But so before that, though, it was Deutsch and Partners, I think, or Deutsch Advertising. Anyway, big advertising agency, Madison Avenue agency, and so he wanted to get the Tri-State Pontiac Dealers Association as a client, and so to do that, he found the president's, got the president's name and address, and he sent a car part every 20 minutes. He set it up so that every 20 minutes something would be delivered to his store. It might be a headlight first, and with a note from Donnie saying, we'll, if you hire us as your agency, we'll light the way. And then the next thing that happens is a bumper gets delivered. We'll clear the way for you, and then maybe a windshield. All these car parts. I mean, if the president waited long enough, he could have put a car together.
Wow.
And so, in fact, I kind of wore him down. He's saying, okay, all right, look, and yes, you got it. And so he got the account that way. So I'm not sure how many car parts he delivered, but there again, whatever he spent, maybe he spent a couple thousand, he didn't, but let's say he spent a couple $1,000s on car parts and delivery to get a multi-million-dollar deal.
$12 million contract or something.
Yeah, I mean, that's worth doing.
Yep, exactly. Now, when it comes to different tools, and I was reading, I read about that section of it too. You recommend certain tools in the book, right? Because most people, what they do is, if you watch any of the social media gurus, right, they tell you get in the DM them, talk to them, right? I think it's a very simplistic recommendation. And nowadays, a lot of people follow that recommendation, so it has become a spam channel now, right? But there are other tools that I read some of them and I didn't recognize them. I didn't know about them before. Let's go with something less popular platform right now. Comparatively speaking, LinkedIn is less popular than Instagram or Facebook, obviously. How would you utilize LinkedIn to do your research? Because we're not messaging them through LinkedIn. We're just doing our research. So how do you utilize a platform? I'm just saying LinkedIn as an example. You could use any platform as an example that you like. How do we go about, like, from a practical advice standpoint, how do we use that?
And by tools, do you mean tools to contact someone, or?
No, because the thing is, we're creating our top 100 VIP list.
Got it. Okay, yeah. So LinkedIn is a great source, and I think what you're really talking about is we're doing profile scrapes to use deep personalization. So, LinkedIn and LinkedIn Navigate. Cruising someone's profile is, you're going to get some information. You're going to find out where they graduated, usually where they went to school, and what they do, and where they've worked most recently. You can pull down you can grab their profile picture and do some really interesting, run some interesting filters on that. They can turn it into a Wall Street Journal style engraved portrait of them. Maybe that might come in handy in some of your contact tools. You can grab that. But I think then you really want to be looking at what are they talking about. So if they're posting, great, check out their posts. Go to their websites, because if they're part of the founding or managing team, then there probably is a bio. There's a news or media section in their websites, so look for those. You can use this is kind of an old one now, but Google Alerts are kind of a cool way to set up a Google alert on their name, so that anytime they're talking in the news, that's a great piece of information. Whatever they just said in the news is great for great information for reaching out, because what you're looking for are things that you can use so that you can create a very, very personalized or very personal approach to them. And when you do that, you can see some really, really spectacular results. Lots of stories about that. I don't know if you want me to go into any of those.
Oh, I would love to. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
let's use one or two examples.
Yeah. Well, so, one of them is, when How to Get a Meeting with Anyone came out, about a year later, I heard from Dom, and Dom said, I bought your book a year ago. I just want to tell you what happened as a result of buying your book and reading it. So he said that, a year ago, I was just about to graduate college, and I was being recruited by this late stage, very large startup, Silicon Valley startup, to become an SDR. So he was really excited about that. It's great, fantastic. Well, then he ended up, in this, I imagine this room full of people, other SDRs, and they were all required to make 100 phone calls a day, just cold phone calls. And he was getting pretty frustrated with it, because nothing was happening, not only for him, but for everyone in the department. It was rare to get even one conversation happening in a day. And so he was pretty frustrated about it. And we went out to dinner one night with a friend, and he was telling him about it. And the friend said, "You got to buy this book." That was my book. I don't know who the friend was. I've got to thank him. But anyway, you got to buy this book. So what he latched on, the thing that and there's all kinds of ways of breaking through. So the one that he really, really latched onto was, I want to produce really super hyper personalized gifts and use that to break through to the people I want to reach. So he decided, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue doing those 100 phone calls a day, but I'm also going to I'm going to look through some of these people that we're calling and take a little bit of time to find out who they are and what might resonate with them. And so the first one that he chose was someone that no one from his department had been able to break through to, and so he discovered that the fellow was really, really interested in family and cooking, right? Yeah, family cooking and technology. So he took 2 out of 3 and had a barbecue apron embroidered with a Stanley C. Clarke quote, which is something to the effect, I'll probably never get this right, but something to the effect that technology sufficiently advanced will appear as magic. I think that's about right. So he had that embroidered on the apron, sent it to him, and the guy got in touch immediately, said, that's so cool. Thank you. You're the guy who sent this, right? Yeah. That's so cool. Thank you so much. I don't know where you came up with this, but thank you. And so conversation ensued, and a 6-figure deal ensued. So his cohorts now are saying, well, what the heck did you just do? What are you doing? Because they're noticing he's getting through to others as well. What are you doing? And so, and would you teach us? And yeah, this is what I'm doing: profile scrapes and deep personalization. And okay, would you help us? Yeah. So for the first colleague he helped, said, okay, here's another guy. Nobody's been able to reach this guy. Let's try it on him. So they did a little bit of research on him, and they found that he was really interested in falconry. So that's a pretty unique marker, right? So they went to a falconry site, and they talked to the owner, and they said, look, we want to get a gift for this account, and we don't know anything about falconry, but what should we get? And the guy said, "Here, get a falconry glove." So they
Oh yeah, you hold it.
they hold the bird on this glove. And it's just, fortunately, you only have to get one, so
Yeah.
half off. But so this beautiful ornate glove cost about $100, and they downloaded the picture of the glove and sent. So of course they ordered it and had it to be shipped directly to the account, to the prospect, and then they sent an email, or Dom had his colleague send an email to this guy with the picture from the website of the glove that he just bought for him, just had sent to him. Well, the guy called right back and he said, or somehow probably responded by email, but he responded right away and he said, "Hey, oh my God, thank you. That's really cool. I don't know how you even knew I was into falconry, but that's really cool. But listen, I'm not a prospect for what you guys do, so I really appreciate it. Thanks anyway." And then the glove arrived a couple of days later. Guy's right back to him, and he said, "Oh my God, I got the glove. This thing's so cool. Well, remember I told you I'm not a prospect? Well, I'm not, but I know of 3 other CIOs who are, and I'm going to make introductions." And so more 6-figure deals ensued. And pretty soon management is saying, "What are you guys doing down there? What just changed?" And they all pointed to Dom and said, "Dom's the guy who did this." And Dom, they explained what they're doing. And so Dom was promoted within that first year to sales manager of the company. And then it was acquired by Cisco. So in the span of a year, contact marketing changed Dom's life. He went from a new hire SDR to sales manager of a multinational $4.7 billion company.
Wow.
Just because he's reaching out to the right people that have the power to change everything. And that's what was happening.
So one of the things in that example where you said the person said, "Oh, I'm not the prospect." So 2 things I take away from that. One, if you have done your homework, even if the person is not your prospect, but you have treated them right, like a human being, right? You did all the right things by them. Believe me, it always comes and pays you back. One way or another, it pays you back. Don't have any expectation, but I think it does. That's just my personal experience in life, that it does. But in that scenario also, like, let's say if that person, you had done your homework and that they are definitely the prospect, but for some reason they're saying no, for whatever reason. It could be budget, it could be they gave the job to their nephew or cousin or somebody else who runs a competitive consulting company to yours or something like that, right? It could be 1,000 different reasons. How do you handle I think you use the term negative method. I don't know. It's called negative method or something like that in the book, where you insert the competitor's name.
Well, I think my thinking has changed on it a little bit since writing the book. So there are a couple of things. One is, you heard me say at the very top of our conversation that what you really want to do with your contact marketing, whatever it is you do through contact marketing, you really want the person on the other side of this saying, "Man, I love the way I love the way this person thinks. I love the way you think." So you saw that happening with the video with Billy's assistant. She loves the way I think. I'm pretty sure.
She was getting excited. I actually heard she was laughing and snorting. You made her snort while laughing.
Right. So if you've done that, then you have made an impression that will last and last and last. But we haven't really talked much about weeds, because we're going to talk about that later. We'll talk.
By the way, so Stu, I think what I would love to invite you, because I'm getting a lot of chat messages about this.
Oh yeah, we got
it. They are asking me to bring you back on again.
Oh, perfect.
So what I would like to do, this is a live show. I would love to. I'm putting my heart and soul and everything on the line here. I'd like to invite you again for the second episode, which I have not done with any guest yet.
Wow.
When the book is coming out, maybe a couple of weeks in advance of that, let's do an episode on, because I want to take a deep dive, because when I read this book on contact marketing, it was a phenomenal book, and I wanted to dedicate the entire show to just contact marketing and to bring this to my audience. But I think your book comes out when, in May or June?
Comes out in May. It comes out in May. Yeah.
So let's do the weeds episode. We'll do it in April or May, just before the book comes out.
Yeah, that's perfect. I was just going to say that weed strategy is starting to creep into contact marketing now, and so one of the so as I just mentioned, if you've created that impression that people are just saying, "Oh my God, I love the way this person like I love the way Sabir thinks. We've got to do something with them." So even if they didn't do something with you right away, they will. I think they'll come back. But another point of this is if we introduce a little bit of weed strategy, weeds spread seeds all over the place. That's how they propagate and how they conquer new territory. And so we're looking at I teach a course, and then we have these group coaching sessions. And so in these sessions right now, we're exploring how do we cause the impetus for a sale to spread like a weed throughout the organization. So we've made contact. What do we do next to have it spread everywhere, to spread like a weed? And so I think if you do those two things, then you have not just made a contact, but you will have made probably a referral source, or they'll come back. Somehow it'll come back to you.
Definitely. So what I would like to do, the thing is, again, to everyone who's watching this is worth the investment. Get this. I would also say that to go with this, right? Both of these things, both of the books, they're both available on Amazon. And also the way I like consuming books is through Audible. So Audible, I would highly recommend getting the Audible version of it. I like the printed book in this case because the charts and the tables and the grids, especially the flow diagram that you show in the contact strategy and stuff like that, it's phenomenal. I would highly recommend for everybody to kind of get both of the books, and most importantly, not just read the book because it sounds great. I want you to implement it. I want you to implement it and then ask questions wherever you're consuming this content. Ask the questions there, and I do hover around a lot of these videos, and then I'll try to answer them, or I'll tag you, Stu, so that you can jump in and help with that. But Stu, phenomenal meeting. I would say phenomenal interview, phenomenal episode, and amazing content. What is your number one $100,000 expert insight into contact marketing?
How much time do I have?
Let's make it quick.
Quick.
Yeah.
Be audacious. In all of these cases, we're not. You can get a hold of people. I've gotten a hold of people with email, but you notice really, I wasn't even using much. I can use email really well with cartoons and so forth. It's not that I don't like it. I don't like the crowded channels, any of them. But be audacious. And what you've seen are examples of being audacious. And if I could share one quick example.
Yes, please.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I have here, this is Dan Waldschmidt's sword campaign. So you
wow.
write about it in the book. Dan,
this is a first on This Week with Sabir. You're seeing a sword.
Now, so Dan is a turnaround. He's a sales blogger, but he's also a turnaround specialist. And so he's reaching out to CEOs of companies that are in trouble, and he spends $1,000 on those swords. When he sends them out this beautiful wooden box and a handwritten note, and so forth. But by the time he's done, he's spent $1,000 to reach out to each CEO, and he's getting 100% response rate to that campaign.
Incredible. Yeah, I mean, if somebody sends me a sword, they'll get my attention.
Be audacious.
That's a great
whatever it is you're doing, it doesn't have to be sending stuff, but whatever it is you're doing, be audacious. Don't be afraid to be audacious. I think that's it. I think that would be my message.
Amazing. Stu, thank you for being on This Week with Sabir, and thank you to the live audience for sharing your thoughts as we were going through this live recording. And if you're consuming this afterwards, months, years, or weeks from now, we still feel the love, and thank you very much. And Stu, thank you for being here. And again, we will see you in April or May of 2022 when the new book comes out. And I look forward to reading it and definitely discussing it just like this and in a lot more detail. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. What a blast. It's been a pleasure. It's gone by so fast. But thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, everyone.